The Chinese Communist Party is trying to undermine Taiwan's democracy, but it might be Taiwan that helps democracy come to China. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell, coming to you from Taiwan. We are just days away from Taiwan's election. Taiwan is dominated by two major political parties, the DPP and the KMT. But more and more, third parties are making their mark. I sat down with Huang Kuo-chang, a legislator in the New Power Party, to talk about how third parties in Taiwan are changing democracy in Taiwan and maybe even in mainland China. Thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure.
So, what would the Chinese Communist Party like to see happen in this election?
I think they want the KMT's candidate, Mr. Han, to win the presidential election. But as far as I know, predicting from where we stand right now is not going to happen.
Well, why is the Communist Party interested in the KMT candidate winning the election?
There is no doubt that the KMT candidate is very pro-Beijing government. More than that, they keep silent when a political leader should speak out, where the Beijing government pressure the human rights in China, and the KMT candidate is quite cooperating with the Beijing government with all kinds of political agenda they are pushing against Taiwan.
Can you give me an example of an instance where they
Let's
have state
see
science?
what happened in Hong Kong this past summer. I think all people around the world, they support Hong Kong people's right to fight for their basic human rights. But the KMT candidate behaved quite awkward during that period. They tried to say something, but they have a great pressure from the Beijing government. So as a result, they kept silent. That is not acceptable for the Taiwan people because we have been there. We fought for our democracy. We fought for our freedom for the past 40 years. And the KMT's candidate quite cooperate with the Beijing government. I think that is not acceptable for the Taiwan people because that is not our best interest.
You see that as going against Taiwan's principles of democracy.
Sure.
Is the Chinese Communist Party doing anything to ensure that its interests come to fruition in the election?
I think as from what we saw from the last election, I mean last year's local election, the Beijing government tried their best to penetrate our democratic system to influence the final result.
Actual election interference?
Yes.
Do you think that's happening again this time?
Yes. They tried their best to influence the result of our election in order to fit their own interest. But that was not acceptable for the Taiwanese people because our democracy should be decided by Taiwanese people, not by the Beijing government. We understand the cross-strait relation is quite important. Everyone wants peace, but we put human rights above all. That is what we stand for. As a result, I think Taiwanese people are growing stronger and stronger to immune from those kinds of influence from the Beijing government.
Well, I know you mentioned the Hong Kong protests. How do you think that has affected politics in Taiwan?
It has a huge political impact on politics in Taiwan because Taiwanese people observe what will happen if we accept one country, two systems as pushed by the Beijing government. Hong Kong used to be a society with legal order. That's why many foreigners love to invest in Hong Kong. But since the Beijing government tried to interfere with the public order in Hong Kong, many people are observing the legal order is collapsing in Hong Kong. That is not only bad for the Hong Kong people's human rights, but also hurting their economy. From Taiwanese people, that kind of scene as we observe this past summer in Hong Kong is terrifying. Most Taiwanese people cannot accept what that is going to become, what we are going to become.
Now, it's interesting you mentioned the economic impact that happened in Hong Kong, because I know there are people in Taiwan that say closer ties to mainland China will be better for the Taiwanese economy, but you don't think that's the case?
If you look at what happened for the past 20 years, before 2016, that is the previous administration tried to persuade Taiwanese people, if we sign the cross-strait service trade pact, it will help the economy in Taiwan. But since the trade war between the United States and China, Taiwan actually benefit from, we are not part of the trade partner with China. Otherwise, when the United States sanction the China, Taiwan might become the collateral damage. So if you look at the economic number for the past 3 years, Taiwan is doing better and better. What is the most important for us is to upgrade our own industry, not put our hope into China. In the long run, if we put our whole economic growth, if we put our hope on the Chinese market, that is going to hurt us.
I can tell you're very concerned that China's authoritarian regime could damage Taiwan's democracy. Do you think it's possible that Taiwan's democracy could likewise have a positive influence in China?
That is what we have been hoping for the past 20 years. As long as Taiwan can have a healthy democracy, the whole world will witness in the so-called Chinese community, democratic life is not only possible, but also beneficial. China has been telling the whole world, democracy is not suitable for the Chinese community. I think if you look at what happened in Taiwan, Taiwan's democracy becomes stronger and stronger. Taiwanese people's human rights have been taken care of. And everyone who lives in Taiwan can pursue their happiness and their dreams. Democracy can work, not only in Western countries, but also in Chinese community.
So it seems in this election the candidates most likely to win the presidency are either Tsai Ing-wen of the Democratic Progressive Party or Huang Kuo-chang of the KMT party. First, what do you think would happen to Taiwan-China relations if Tsai won?
From what I observe, President Tsai is going to win her second term. There is no doubt about that. But what is more important is the congressional election, because there are a number of important legislations which have not been finished in our term. They have to be finished by next Congress. So we are hoping the pro-democracy camp can win the majority seats in Congress. But as far as the president goes, I think President Tsai is going to continue her previous pace, trying to protect Taiwan's democracy and at the same time maintain a stable relation with the Beijing government, trying not to provoke the Beijing government, but also showing all the people in China democracy can work in Taiwan. It also can be done in China.
So what do you think would happen if Huang Kuo-chang wins the presidency or the KMT wins the majority in the Congress? It doesn't look like
No. It is a horrifying scene. If Huang Kuo-chang wins the election, I'm afraid the Xi Jinping's political agenda might come to reality, the so-called one country, two system will be implemented by the Huang Kuo-chang.
You think it would be that bad?
Yes.
Even after the Hong Kong protests, you think, wouldn't most people in Taiwan fight against that, specifically the one country, two systems model, even if Han or the KMT won?
But Han did not say anything to protest the political agenda by the Xi Jinping. That is why his credibility is always in doubt for most Taiwanese people. We are not sure how aggressive he will become if he do win the presidential election. But that chance is not the kind of chance we can take.
So in 2014, the massive sunflower movement protests showed that many people in Taiwan were very concerned about the economic ties between Taiwan and mainland China. Do you think that's still the case today?
If you look at the number, the trade between China and Taiwan is still going on. Does not influenced by the fact that DPP is the ruling party. But our government is trying their best to invest more in other countries other than mainland China. I think the economic situation around the world will become quite complicated, given the fact that the trade war between the United States and China is quite uncertain. We are not sure what is going to happen for the next 2 or 3 years. But in any event, it's very important for Taiwan to keep growing our own economy and trying to have a sustainable system. We have to avoid relying too much on the Chinese market. Otherwise, it's very possible for us to lose our own political independence.
Well, so as leader of one of the most successful third parties in Taiwan, what does your party see the future of Taiwan-China relations?
I think that is a very difficult question because in some sense, it will depend on what will happen within China. We always support all kinds of democratic movement or any fights for human rights within China. We are hoping more and more Chinese people dare stand up to fight against the Chinese communist regime. If that happens, then we can seize the moment to improve the political system in China. As long as the political system changed within China, Taiwan can become safer and Taiwan can grow a more healthy relation with China.
So you think Taiwan can play a big role in bringing democracy to China?
Sure. That is, I think that is very important and significant. If you look at what is happening in Taiwan, why there are so many Chinese people who fought for democracy, use Taiwan as an example to show the whole Chinese people democracy can work. The most important thing for us is to continue to support that kind of democratic efforts happening in China. That is not only beneficial for the Chinese people, but is also the best interest of Taiwan.
So moving forward, what would you like to see happen between US and Taiwan relations?
We want to establish a formal official relation with the United States. We are very grateful for all kinds of good efforts done by the US Congress for the past 2 years, such as the Taiwan Travel Act and the Taipei Act. They are very helpful for Taiwan to continue to grow a stronger relation with Washington, D.C. But more than that, I would be happy to see we sign a trade deal with the United States to continue the economic partnership between the United States and Taiwan. And moving forward beyond that, eventually, I hope we can establish an official diplomatic relations with Washington, D.C.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. We're very anxious to see what happens in these elections.
My pleasure. Thank you.